everyone, and welcome back. In this video, we would like to introduce some of the spiritual principles that we will be basing everything off of. Sterling, would you like to introduce the Hermetic laws to us?
Sure. The Hermetic laws or principles are spiritual axioms that every religion on the planet that I've found so far seem to follow. And it works in every single one of them. It doesn't denote or take away anything from the practices or essentially the beliefs that the systems have. The first principle, of course, is the mental, okay? And that is the all is mind, okay? And it's called the principle of mentalism, but the problem is that it's not just mental. The mind is, we've talked about this before, the mind is more than mental. Okay, it's made up of all four elements, not just air. So to say it's mentalism, the all is mind. Okay, so the mind being fire, which is spirit, air is intelligence, soul is water, and then the brain as earth. Okay, housing everything, the other aspects of the mind into a physical reality. So that's what it's stating, okay? And that's the important factor, is that the all is mind. It's all four elements contained in a body and in bodies everywhere, okay, throughout our known universe. That's the first principle, okay? And it's taken out of context a lot. When it is written about in different books, they take it as just being mental, like this. We only live in a mental universe, and this is all made up in your head, and it's not. We live in a physical reality. We know this. It's not the Matrix from the movie. So it is, again, we need to clarify that it's the mind and it's not just mental. Okay. The second principle, okay, is the principle of correspondence. As people have read, as above, so below. Okay, it is dimensional theory, essentially. If you change something in 1 and 2 dimensional reality, you change it in 3 dimensional reality. If you change something in 3 dimensional reality, you change it in 2 and 1 dimensional reality. Okay, you can't change one dimension without it affecting the other two, and vice versa. Okay. It is the basis for manifestation, it's the basis for prayer, it's the basis for magic systems, it's the basis for science, for the sake of argument. Quantum mechanics, you change something in the quantum realm, it's going to change something in the physical realm. That's just how it works. And that is the second principle. Okay. The third principle is the principle of vibration. Okay. Nothing rests, everything is in motion. Okay. And again, we live in a cyclical universe. Everything is about cycles. 1-dimensional reality is about measurement cycles, so they're very small. 2-dimensional reality is about, again, power cycles. Hot, dry, dry, cold, cold, moist, moist, hot, for the elements to transmutate one into the other. And 3-dimensional reality is about cardinal, fixed, and mutable cycles, beginning, middle, and end. All cycles have to go through those continuously. Okay, and that's what the principle of vibration is all about. Okay, and there's a principle of the polarities. Okay, everything has its opposite. Okay, it's the basis for 2-dimensional reality. Okay, and that's where it's formed. Okay, you have polar opposites in 2-dimensional reality. Okay, something's hot. Something's cold, something's dry, something's moist. That's finite. It's over. That's where it exists. And that's where you get polarities popping. Okay? And when you get into 3-dimensional reality, because of the fracturing instead of just the reflection, what happens to polarities is, especially within us, within beings that need to relate to our reality, there's more than one polarity, and we'll take something like taste. You can have bitter and sweet, you can have salty and sweet, okay? You can have spicy and sweet. And mix that with every single sense that you have. And you have multiple polarities flowing everywhere, which is nice. It gives the basis for not just being this and that, but you can have this, and this, all happening at the same time. Anybody who's ever cooked anything knows that. More different types of spices you add, it changes the makeup of the energy of what you're eating. Okay, it may not change everything in it, but it changes the interpretation of the energy. So, what we need to understand when it comes to essentially polarities is that it creates more than one pole for energy to move through. Okay? And we'll get into that a little later when we start talking about pendulum swings. Okay? But essentially for polarities, that's really what we need to know. The difference between two-dimensional reality and three-dimensional reality, and the fact that one's reflection and one's refraction. And in refracting, it creates multiple poles, as where two-dimensional only has one for each thing.
Okay.
All right, the principle of rhythm. Everything flows in and out. Everything has its tides. Okay? All things continually move.
Ebb and flow, yeah.
Ebb and flow. Okay. It's where we have waves, sound waves, any type of waves. It's all about flow. It's all about flow. It's all about flow. Okay. And everything has a rhythm to it. And it's tying into that rhythm. Same thing when you're listening to a song. You can jump in as soon as you get the beat.
Okay.
Okay? If you don't get the beat, you can't jump in anywhere because it doesn't make any sense. You tie into the rhythms of things, flow with the energy after that. Okay? And as long as you can keep the beat, you can continue on that wave. As soon as you lose the beat, you either have to reconnect with it or tie into another one. Okay? And you're going to anyway because everything has rhythm to it.
Right.
Okay? And it's finding the rhythms and understanding the rhythms. And again, the pendulum swings are going to make that even more important. Okay? When we start talking about that. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Now, the principle of cause and effect. Okay? Even science agrees with this one. Okay? Every cause has an effect. Okay? Everything, there's a reason for things that happen. Okay? It's a simple concept. Okay? I do this, it causes that, that's the effect that happens. Okay? This is where karma comes into play. Okay? And especially unintentional karma comes into play. Or accidental karma. Okay? Because intention is wonderful. I mean, it is. It's the basis for everything that you want to do, everything that good that happens, everything bad that happens, for the most part. Okay? The problem is that an intention may not be or may give you a cause that you didn't initiate, or not initiate, you didn't want, and that you didn't intend. Okay? Your intention may not be what you intended. Let's put it that way. Okay? The important part is what you intended. Okay? Because just because the effect wasn't what you were looking for does not make you free and clear of the fact that you caused the issue at hand. Okay? And whatever that issue is, there has to be a payback for it. Okay? And that can be an issue for a lot. Okay? I know there are people out there that don't believe in karma, okay, and luck and all those type of things. But essentially this particular principle says otherwise. Okay? You do something, you cause something to happen, okay? You are responsible for the effect that it happens when it's done. Because essentially what you're doing is causes the initiation, okay, of a cycle.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? You cause something, you watch it build, and you're like, okay, no, that's not what I wanted, And then all of a sudden, wham! It comes down and you're like, oh, that's not good. A lot of people out there will be like, well, if that's not what you intended, you don't have to take responsibility for it. And I'm sorry to state that yes, you do. You need to take responsibility for it. Try to either fix it, apologize for it, okay? But again, be responsible for whatever that cause or the effect was. All right, because you are responsible for that cause. You caused it. Okay? And everything works from cause to effect, cause to effect, cause to effect. Okay? That's where free will gets in the way of things. If there was no free will, all these cycles would be great. But we have free will, which means that we can sit there and have the best intentions in the world and not research enough, not gain the knowledge to make those intentions manifest in the way that we want them to. Okay? And then they will manifest in the way they want to, or they're just going to keep going with a rhythm that has a beat we didn't want. And you end up with a song you didn't want to write and you hate and you can't stand. Okay? And a lot of people do that. They get caught on rhythms that other people created that they say is safe. And they'll jump on those rhythms. And they'll ride those rhythms out.
Okay.
The problem is that a lot of the times the effect isn't what you wanted. You grow to school, you get out of school, you graduate. You either go to college or you go and get a job or whatever you're going to do. Okay? If you don't think those through, usually it's somebody else's essentially intention. Oh, well, I want you to be safe and secure, so you need to go out and get a job that pays you real well and does this, 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 and this. And for some people, that's the right rhythm for them to be on. And for others, it's not. For others, it gives them a boring life. They get so caught up in trying to hit what they intended that they don't enjoy the process of getting there. And by the time they hit the end, they're so beat up from the process that they started that they can't enjoy it. So it never pays off. And then all they can do is try to help other people either jump on the same rhythm they were on because they still think that it's the right thing to do, or they try to tell them, stop. Learn from my mistakes. Don't do this. Go a different flow. You're not on this flow. Okay? And a lot of times they can look at other people too and they can kind of see what rhythm is working best for them and go, well, you actually might want to stay on this path. You need to be on a different one. Okay? But it's taking that, and then the responsibility comes at the end of a life. And unfortunately, the responsibility is for you to tell somebody that you jumped on the wrong path and you're trying to help them not make the same mistakes you did.
Right, yeah.
And you hear that often, over and over and over again, especially from older people. Okay, when it comes to all sorts of things, diet, exercise, all that kind of stuff. I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have taken a risk here and there and not played it safe all the time.
You hear that all the time from grandparents and
yes.
aunts and uncles. And
yes. And they miss the ride. And that's an important factor too. Just because you jump on the rhythm doesn't mean that you don't enjoy the ride. Enjoy the flow, man. Enjoy where it's taking you, enjoy how it's going, and be present in it. So that when it starts to be something you're not liking anymore, you can jump off onto another rhythm and
right.
another flow.
Well, and I think that's a point that a lot of people miss,
Okay.
is being present. They're so focused on the future or some kind of end goal or something.
Either that or they're focused on the past.
Yeah,
Things that they should have done, should I, would I, could I, should have.
Or even the past,
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, because worry is essentially it's being afraid of something that hasn't happened yet. And guilt is being afraid of something that already did.
Yeah.
And there's no real point to it except a learning process. But once you've learned it, okay, and essentially that's Saturn. Saturn, you learn it. Okay, and then Saturn's like, okay, you learned it. And then it's like you need to move into Uranus, where you awaken from it, let it go, and reform it so it doesn't ever happen again.
Mm.
And most people miss it. I've missed it in my life many times. Most people have. Okay, and the problem though is if you're doing something like that and you deny it, the learning, Uranus is going to awaken it anyway and pull the rug right out from under your feet and make you reform it. And it can be very traumatic if you don't see it when it's coming. Okay, and that's something that everybody needs to be aware of.
Right.
When it comes to those things. Okay. Okay, here's the big one. The principle of gender. Okay, everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Okay. Now, we're going to go to astrology for this one. Okay, so, gender. There are two types of gender. There is mental gender and there is physical gender. The sun and the moon rule physical gender. Okay? The sun rules one sign, Leo, it's masculine. Okay? It rules a masculine physical gender. Okay, male. Feminine gender. Okay, feminine gender is ruled by the moon. Moon rules Cancer. Okay, one sign, it's feminine, physical, man and woman. Okay, now there is also mental gender. Okay, mental gender. Okay, those flow through Mars and Venus. Okay, Mars and Venus are androgynous planets. Mars is more prone to masculine energy. Venus is more prone to feminine energy. Okay, but both of those planets rule a masculine and feminine sign on the personal level. Okay, Mars rules Aries. It's more prominent in Aries, and Aries is the masculine sign of it. It also rules Scorpio. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, which is feminine. It's water. Aries is fire. Venus rules Taurus, Earth, the strongest of the Earth. Okay, she's more prevalent to the Earth, but she also rules Libra, which is air, which is masculine. Those are more about gender roles that we take on in life, social roles that we take on, husband, wife, what that means. Man's a breadwinner, woman stays at home and nurtures and takes care of the kids, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't have to be that way, okay? It plays out, in the past, it has played out that way, okay? But again, those are your mental genders. Those are where you have interplay. Physical gender doesn't have any interplay whatsoever, okay? Your center of gravity between a man and a woman will be the same. Your center of balance will never be the same. A man's center of balance is in his shoulders. A woman's center of balance is in her hips. You can't change that unless you can take your being, put it aside and put yourself in another being. You can't do it. It's not possible. Okay. It's also the development of hormones, how they work, how brain functions. Okay. Woman's brain and a man's brain they don't function the same way. Okay. Okay. Women are inherently more emotional. That's because of a physical thing. It's hormones flowing through the body. Males, the same way. Okay. They usually are a little more intellectual. They're usually more rational thinking about things. They want to fix everything. Women don't always want to have their problems fixed. They just need to express them. Hello, I just want to talk. I don't need you to fix everything. Just shut up and listen to me. Okay? I mean, if you've ever been in a relationship and you're a guy, you've heard that one. Okay?
Yes.
We're over there going,
Yes,
why?
absolutely.
I might be able to fix this.
I can do this.
Right. And the women are frustrated going, I don't need you to fix this. I'm just feeling this and I need to vent. Okay? It's just a venting thing that I need. All right? So those are your differences. There's nothing wrong with either one of those. There's nothing wrong with being a male or being a female. Okay? There is toxicity in both. There's toxic masculinity. There's toxic femininity. Okay? But there's also positive masculinity and positive femininity.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes.
It's an interplay. It's a mixing of both to find the one thing that you need. Okay? So when it comes to, a lot of the confusion and things, and I'm not saying that there's nothing such as transgenderism. I'm not saying that at all. Okay? What I'm saying is it isn't a choice you make when you are a child. That's something that happens later on in life, and that's going to come because something went weird with Mars and Venus. It doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
It just means that something happened. Now, when you talk about, just male and female, there's going to be differences. Male's bone structures are going to be, they're stronger, they're bigger. Their muscle mass is bigger. They're always going to be that way. Okay? And that's a survival thing. For the most part, that's part of it, is life itself.
Right, and well, that's hormonal breakdown also.
Yes, but that's why the hormonal breakdown essentially is happening that way. Okay? But you need all four to balance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And why do you need that balance? Essentially, you need that balance to raise another human being and get a mixture and a balanced mixture of both sides. Hello, here you go. Does that mean that single parents can't raise a child? No, it doesn't. It means it's going to be more difficult. Okay? It also means that if you're a female trying to raise a male, the male is going to need a representation of a father figure in its life. It also means that if you're a male raising a female, that female is going to need a female representation in her life, whoever that might be. Whether it's a grandmother, whether it's an aunt, whether it's an uncle, whether it's a grandfather. It doesn't really matter. But they're going to need someone, because there are certain things that I as a male cannot answer about being a female. It's not possible. I didn't grow up as one. Okay?
Right.
And that doesn't mean that I didn't grow up in a society as one. It means that I didn't grow physically as a female. I have no idea, okay, what to expect in the first trimester of a pregnancy. I mean,
right,
I'm not going to be able to explain that to you. I might be able to read a book on it. Like if I'm a doctor, sure. And I can tell you, well, you might want to experience this. One would be like, no. You need this is how you know. And they'll be able to tell you because they went through it. Men, the same thing, okay? When that testosterone hits, when you get that anger and that you need a rush, you need to go out, you need to hit something. And it's like, what's the matter with you? Why did you go out there and punch the tree? I was stressed out and I needed to do it. What's the matter with you? It's the same thing. Men are more prevalent to doing those things. That's why we compete against each other physically. I think more so than women do. I mean, women do compete against each other, and that's fine, and I think that's great. But men, there's a need. And if it's not even competing against each other, it's the fact that I know more females that can sit down for an extended period of time when they're younger without having to move. Most men, boys, after about half an hour, 45 minutes,
they get antsy.
They need to stand up, and you need to tell them, run around the building, run around the house, and then come back in and sit down. Okay, that's one of the reasons I always feel that for boys, recess is so important, because they can expel all that built up, pent up energy that they need to project out. Because masculine energy is, again, it's more about projecting it, and feminine is more about receiving, okay, and potential.
Right.
Okay, but you need both in order to live. And again, the sun and the moon are the only two in astrology that rule one masculine, one feminine sign. All the others are androgynous. They rule a masculine and a feminine sign each. Okay. So there's always going to be a mixture. That's why you have tomboy. That's why you have certain things.
Right, yes.
The difference is that, and this is why I say, before puberty you don't know, the physical gender has to come into play before you can make decisions like that, because you have to go through the hormonal shift. Boys have to grow, their muscle mass has to become huge before they go, oh, now I kind of like this. Girls, it's the same way. They have to go through their hormonal, because they get a hormonal overdose, essentially, of all this stuff coming in, and they have to be able, okay, through puberty, to process all of that, and then they come out of it generally stable enough to understand their emotions better than men can. Okay? And that is needed before a decision can be made as to changing physical characteristics. I don't care about social characteristics in regard to that. I don't care about any of the other things. But physically, they have to go through their physical change before they can make a change, if they need to, about physical gender.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that you don't do it. I'm just saying it has to go through that process, because you don't understand anything until you've gone through it. You can't make a decision in regard to that. That's just my opinion. But, everything that I have researched the spiritual principles, even science would back the same thing. The only community that doesn't seem to do that is the psychological one. But there are some psychologists that do agree with that. I'm not sure why the other ones don't. I'm not sure. But, okay, done with that topic.
On that note.
Okay, yes.
Okay, going back to a couple of the previous principles, rhythm and vibration. Is that where things like guided meditations with binaural beats or things like that would tie in?
Yes, definitely. Of course, music has rhythm to it. Your heartbeat has rhythm to it. Everything essentially has some sort of a rhythm to it. Okay, it's connecting to the rhythms, figuring it out. The easiest one to do, of course, is through music. It's one of the best ways to do it. And through those rhythms, they can lead you where they need you to go, especially with meditation or healing, because they lead your body through those rhythms. And whatever rhythms and vibration that's happening. So vibration, okay, is going to be, it's not the rhythm, it's what it's vibrating at. It's what the rhythm's vibrating at, essentially. So it's
not the frequency of
the frequency.
The music. Okay.
So you have frequencies and waves, and then working those two things together. And those, again, are the two mediums, because frequencies are air and waves are water. Okay? And it's melding those two together, working those two together. You're either going to have calm seas or rough ones.
Right.
You can look at it that way, but not just that. It's going to allow you to float and not sink completely to the bottom. It's going to allow you to float. It's going to allow you to surf. It's going to allow you to do whatever it is that you need to do with those waves. So yes, guided meditations, that's all they're doing. They're giving you a way for you to jump on, okay, a wave at a particular frequency and ride it out. Okay. To a destination that they want you to get to. Okay. That's where they're leading you.
Okay.
There are some meditations that just go, hey, jump on and see where you go. And essentially what they do is they just throw a wave and a frequency and go. And they allow you to go wherever you want to go on those. And those can be fun too. But if you're going to do those, you need to learn protection, because you have no idea where you're going to end up and what else is going to be on the same wave and frequency with you. It'll be like, going to Australia and jumping on a surfboard and then shark. You don't want to run into the shark.
Right.
Same thing though.
Okay.
But yes, definitely. And when you're talking about, the frequency and the waves, again, the human body has a hertz that it vibrates to. Everything has vibration.
I was going to say, there's a natural frequency.
All the stones do,
Yes.
Everything does. Metals, stones, plants, animals, we all vibrate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tuning into those vibrations.
And this may be a topic for another time, but that natural frequency that your body is attuned to, would that be noticeable through brainwaves or something of that nature?
I don't know if it'll be noticeable through brainwaves. I'm not familiar with the equipment that scan them.
Okay.
I know that you can connect to them through meditation. You can connect to them through the aura. Spiritually, yes. Mechanically, I have no idea, because I don't know the equipment.
Okay.
So I don't want to go off like I'm mechanical. I'm not into mechanics for the most part. But I don't know the equipment. I think they can, because they. When I was a kid, I got hooked up to a machine, and I was talking to whoever was running the machine. Nice woman. I was probably like 10. I had passed out on the way to school, and they wanted to figure out why. So they hooked me up to this thing, and as I'm, as you can tell, I talk. And I'm talking to this woman, and she stopped me, and she was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Yeah." She was like, "You're asleep." She goes, "According to your brainwaves, you are sleeping right now." And I'm sitting here in the middle of the conversation.
Having a cat, wow.
Yeah, that was weird. That was really strange.
That is very...
That's very strange. So that was probably my first completely lucid dreaming experience that I ever had, because I was completely conscious of everything going around me at the same time. And I was completely asleep according to her machine, which is kind
Wow.
of strange.
That is, wow.
Yeah. Yes. But again, lucid dreaming, the same thing. You can connect to those brainwaves and connect to other people's through that too. Because I know that you can do that also through your
Okay.
aura, because that's what your aura is doing. You're interplaying with different frequencies, not just of people, but of plants, minerals, anything that's in your environment. Your aura is touching those frequencies and sending energy back. And you are the one, and you're processing it. Your mind is processing. This means nothing, this means nothing, this is important. And I thought, when I first got into this, I was like, a little sketchy about it. But I have a friend who was an Army Ranger, and they taught him in Ranger School the same stuff that I was teaching in my aura classes.
Okay.
They
Wow.
teach a field, to project a field out, and if something crosses that field, they know it. When they're deployed, it's kind of an early warning system, or spidey sense, sort of a thing for
Wow.
them.
Okay.
Okay, and
Fascinating. Even
yeah.
our special forces use it. Okay.
yeah, Special Forces has taught that stuff. Okay, so I mean, it's interesting when you get into these fields,
Wow.
and things of that nature. But as far as getting back to Hermetics a little bit, because I brought up the pendulum swing, I don't want to forget. Now, part of what Hermetics teaches is everything in life is on a pendulum swing. They go up and they come down. Okay, and most of the books that you're going to read on Hermetics, okay, try to tell you to walk a path that's very boring. Stay off the upswings because they're going to downswing. Okay, and in that they're thinking two-dimensionally only. Okay, so let's say the pendulum that you're on is career, and you want your career to go up and up and up, and you want to become more successful and more successful and more successful. Okay, the pendulum swing teaches that you can do that, ride that swing up, but that swing is also going to come right back down. So you're successful, you're going to lose it, lose it, lose it, lose it, lose it, lose it, lose it. Okay, what you can do though with the pendulum swings, and when we talked about rhythm, okay, and vibration, is when you feel that about to peak, okay, you find a rhythm and a vibration of a different focus. So let's say family. That's going up. And then you can just switch pendulums and ride that one up while the career one's going down. So you're not focused on career anymore. You've done your career one, you're done. Now you're going to focus on family issues. And that pendulum swing is going to go up. And then when that one peaks and starts to come down, find another focus. You focus and you keep focusing on the upswings. And that's what successful people do. Okay? Or, hey, even you can do it even more slight than that. A career in this and I'm going up. And then you peaked at that and you pick a different career. And go up and do something else. It's the same thing. It's more slight, but you don't have to follow the backswing down. And that's how you actually work the pendulum.
Intriguing. Okay.
With Hermetics,
Yes.
as opposed to just riding them all out. Because then nothing gets really good, and nothing's ever really bad either. And it's a horrible existence. It's like it'd be like a monotone existence.
That's very
Completely bland.
mediocre. Yeah.
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 I mean, it would be calm and placid, but boring. Just understand, again, those polarities that we talked about. From two-dimensional, there's only one polarity. In 3 dimensions, you have hundreds of them branching out. Pop a different polarity.
Right.
Okay? That's all you need to do.
Okay.
And you can follow that around, and you can avoid the backswing in a particular area. Because if you continue to focus on an area that you've peaked at, it's going to drop.
Right.
And you're going to fail all the way down until it decides to upswing again, and you don't know how long that's going to take.
Right.
So you switch.
Yeah, they just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Onward and
So
upward.
instead of being on a pendulum swing like this, it's going to look more like you're in a tornado, a spiral.
Yeah.
That keeps continually going up while the individual swings go up and down. You keep riding it up. That's how you can work those pendulum swings as far as Hermetics is concerned. Because that is one of the Hermetic principles.
Okay.
Is about that.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yep. Now there is more to a Hermetics, but I mean, it's probably for a different time. This is just like an opening to what the principles are and just like brief explanations of how they kind of work. And then we can get into different discussions on each of the principles themselves later on.
Perfect. All
Or
right.
in classes, if any of you desire to take classes on this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. And do remember to like and subscribe. Thank you.